A maintenance worker was dragged out of the lobby in front of dozens of executives, his cleaning cart shoved aside like it was worthless. His young daughter watched with tears in her eyes as security threw her father onto the front steps. Everyone believed they had just removed an insignificant janitor from the building. 10 minutes later, the chairman arrived, looked at the frightened single father sitting on the sidewalk, and uttered words that turned every face pale. The man they had humiliated didn't just work in the building. He owned every floor, every office, every brick, and every dream inside it. If you believe kindness always matters more than appearances, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel to become part of our growing community that believes in forgiveness, compassion, and second chances. Every weekday morning, before the sunlight fully reflected across the glass towers of Brookhaven Plaza, a quiet man named Graham Whitmore unlocked the service entrance carrying a faded lunch bag in one hand and the tiny backpack of his 8-year-old daughter, Elsie, in the other. Most people who rushed past them never looked twice. They saw an aging pair of work boots, a worn gray maintenance uniform, and a janitor pushing an old cleaning cart. They never saw the sleepless nights Graham spent raising his daughter alone after losing his wife to a sudden illness 5 years earlier. They never saw the gentle father who braided Elsie's hair every morning, packed heart-shaped sandwiches into her lunchbox, and reminded her that people should never measure another person's value by the clothes they wore. The building itself stood as one of the most respected business centers in the city. Powerful law firms, financial companies, medical consultants, and technology startups filled its offices. Expensive suits and luxury cars were ordinary sights outside the entrance. Graham blended into the background so completely that many executives walked around him without acknowledging his existence. He accepted every ignored greeting with the same quiet smile because life had taught him that dignity came from character, not recognition. Unknown to everyone in the building except one elderly attorney and the chairman of the property trust, Graham had inherited Brookhaven Plaza from his grandfather nearly 7 years earlier. His grandfather had built the tower from the ground up after decades of sacrifice. Before passing away, he had left Graham a letter containing a simple request. Never let wealth decide who deserves respect. Learn how every employee lives before making decisions that affect them. Graham took those words seriously. Instead of announcing himself as the owner, he hired an independent management company, dressed as an ordinary janitor, and spent years quietly learning every hidden truth inside the building. That he discovered cleaning crews working overtime without complaint, receptionists comforting frightened visitors, security guards missing birthdays to provide for their families, and maintenance workers solving expensive problems before anyone noticed. He also quietly documented dishonest contractors, managers who bullied employees, and executives who mistreated anyone they believed had no power. Graham believed that a leader could never understand a business from the top floor alone. Elsie loved helping her father during school holidays. She carefully watered the lobby plants, greeted everyone with cheerful smiles, and secretly believed the building looked happier after her father polished its marble floors. Some employees adored the little girl and often shared cookies or coloring books with her. Others barely noticed she existed. Everything changed on a bright Tuesday morning when a wealthy investment company prepared for the arrival of international clients. Their regional director, Victor Hensley, obsessed over appearances. He wanted the lobby to look perfect and believed every detail reflected his reputation. As Graham quietly mopped a section of the marble entrance after someone spilled coffee, Victor stormed into the building surrounded by assistants. Without paying attention to the warning sign, Victor stepped directly onto the wet floor, slipped awkwardly, and landed hard on one knee. Embarrassment quickly transformed into anger. Instead of accepting responsibility, Victor blamed Graham in front of everyone gathering nearby. His voice echoed across the lobby as he accused the janitor of incompetence, demanded immediate dismissal, and insisted that no respectable client should ever see someone dressed so poorly in the front entrance. Graham calmly apologized for the accident even though the warning sign stood clearly visible. He tried explaining that the floor would be dry within moments, but Victor refused to listen. Elsie rushed toward her father, clutching his hand while fighting back tears. Watching her frightened face should have softened every heart in the room. Instead, several managers remained silent, unwilling to challenge the powerful executive whose company rented 4 entire floors. The property management supervisor, desperate to keep Victor satisfied, made the worst decision of his career. Without asking questions, he instructed security to escort Graham from the building immediately. Graham quietly removed his work gloves, picked up his lunch bag, and gently hugged Elsie before walking toward the entrance. His cleaning cart remained abandoned beside the shining floor he had spent hours making spotless. Employees watched from every direction. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others whispered that life could be cruel. A few secretly recorded the humiliation on their phones. Graham never raised his voice. He simply placed a comforting hand on Elsie's shoulder and reminded her that bitterness never healed wounded hearts. Only minutes later, a black sedan pulled into the circular driveway. Out stepped Chairman Roland Mercer, an elderly businessman known throughout the city for his fairness and wisdom. He immediately noticed Graham sitting beside his daughter on the front steps. Confusion crossed his face before concern replaced it entirely. After hearing a brief explanation from one trembling employee, Roland walked straight toward Graham instead of entering the building. Then something happened that no one expected. The respected chairman extended both hands toward the maintenance worker with unmistakable respect. Silence spread through the entrance as Roland apologized publicly for what had happened. He announced that the true owner of Brookhaven Plaza had spent years anonymously working beside every employee to understand the building from the ground level. Graham Whitmore, the humble single father everyone dismissed as a janitor, had quietly owned the entire property all along. The color disappeared from Victor's face. The supervisor who ordered Graham removed struggled to breathe. Security guards stared at one another in disbelief. Employees who had ignored Graham for years suddenly realized they had never truly seen the man standing before them. Roland then revealed why Graham had hidden his identity. Every management decision, every promotion, every lease renewal, and every executive contract had been quietly reviewed using observations Graham collected while working as an ordinary employee. Respect, integrity, and compassion mattered far more than profits alone. Victor desperately attempted to apologize, insisting it had all been a misunderstanding. Graham listened patiently without interrupting. His expression remained calm, but sadness rested behind his eyes. The deepest wound had never been the public humiliation. It was watching his daughter learn how quickly adults judged someone based only on appearance. Instead of demanding revenge, Graham asked everyone to gather in the sunlit lobby. Hundreds of employees slowly assembled. Graham stood beside the same cleaning cart he had pushed every morning for years. He spoke about his grandfather's dream of creating more than an office building. The building had been meant to become a place where every worker mattered equally. The janitor who cleaned the floors, the receptionist welcoming visitors, the accountant balancing numbers, and the executives signing contracts all carried equal human dignity. The moment one person believed another deserved less respect because of a uniform, a salary, or a title, the building itself lost part of its foundation. Many employees quietly wiped away tears. Some remembered moments when Graham had helped them carry heavy boxes, fixed broken equipment without asking for praise, or comforted them after difficult days. They finally understood that greatness often wore ordinary clothes. An independent investigation followed over the next several days. Graham reviewed years of anonymous reports and personal observations. Managers who repeatedly abused employees lost their positions. Supervisors who protected their teams received promotions. Cleaning staff gained better equipment, healthcare benefits improved, and scholarships were created for employees' children. Victor expected immediate termination. Instead, Graham invited him into a bright conference room overlooking the city. He explained that every person deserved an opportunity to grow if genuine remorse existed. Victor would not continue as regional director, but he would remain employed in a community outreach division where success depended on listening instead of commanding. It would require humility rather than prestige. For the first time in many years, Victor accepted responsibility without excuses. His pride had nearly destroyed his career, yet mercy offered him a chance to rebuild his character. The supervisor who ordered Graham removed apologized directly to Elsie. Through tears, he admitted that fear of powerful clients had blinded him to simple decency. Elsie quietly forgave him, reminding everyone of the lesson her father repeated every morning. Kindness always costs less than cruelty. Months passed beneath bright skies filled with ordinary workdays transformed by extraordinary compassion. Employees greeted maintenance workers by name. Executives occasionally joined volunteer cleaning events organized throughout the building. New leadership training focused as much on empathy as financial performance. The lobby also changed in a way visitors immediately noticed. Near the entrance stood a simple bronze plaque containing a single sentence from Graham's grandfather: "The strongest buildings are supported by the people no one notices until they are gone." Every person who entered paused to read those words. Many smiled thoughtfully before continuing toward their offices. Elsie eventually returned after school each afternoon, proudly helping her father care for the plants she loved. Although everyone now knew Graham owned the building, he still wore the same maintenance uniform several mornings each week. Wealth had never changed who he was, and public recognition never became his goal. He believed leadership required remaining close enough to ordinary people to understand their struggles. The greatest victory was not exposing hidden ownership or embarrassing those who had judged him unfairly. The greatest victory was watching an entire workplace rediscover its humanity. A single act of humility had transformed hundreds of lives because one father refused to answer cruelty with revenge. Before we finish, we'd love to hear from you. What lesson did this story leave in your heart? Have you ever seen someone underestimated because of their appearance, only to discover how extraordinary they truly were? Leave a meaningful comment below and share your thoughts with our community. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, the true measure of a person is never found in a job title, a paycheck, or the clothes they wear. It is found in the kindness they give when no one is watching, the forgiveness they offer when they have every reason not to, and the hope they inspire in others simply by choosing compassion over pride.